bottom of the curve, a buyer's market for houses and a share market rallying and lifting KiwiSaver balances higher and higher, with more than 400,000 New Zealanders underemployed and underutilised and nearly a quarter of our under-20s needing work. We have huge untapped potential here. So it is frustrating to see that tantalising glimpse of lower unemployment and wonder where we could have been by now, but we can also look ahead to what may come as soon as there's some peace and start to think about who is poised, just waiting to seize the opportunity. Well, that's us. Thanks to our partners, 2 Degrees Business. Up next, Ryan Bridge Today.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 Degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 Degrees has free Aussie business roaming. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost centre reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Paul, and now I'm going to help you solve your problems with Chelsea. Just DM us your problems, and together, let's fix them. Baking solves everything. DM us now.
Before you make up your mind,
Before you jump to hasty conclusions,
it pays to understand
what's really going on,
to help you read between the lines.
and look at all sides of the debate.
so you can inform and form your own opinions.
The facts, plain and simple.
have never been more important to all of us.
So when you need to know,
Turn to the people.
Who won't take no for an answer.
Turn to News Talk ZB. Every view from every angle.
with the goodness of grains, Molenbeek, keep me going on!
I want my Molenbeek! In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
Do try it.
G'day, good morning. You're watching Ryan Bridge Today. It is Thursday, the 7th of May, and welcome to all of our new viewers this morning. On the show this hour, the Finance Minister is live first up this morning. Jobs numbers, plus what's happening with your wages. When will Kiwis actually feel rich again? And when will we lure the kids back from Australia? We'll speak to Nicola Willis shortly. Auckland's $5.5 billion underground network, the CRL, could have been done for half the cost. That's according to the former boss, which begs the question, why didn't he do it for half the bloody cost? And also this morning, we've learned that St John ambulance staff are being told to not change the sheets on the gurney in between patients to save money. Paramedics not happy. Neither am I, frankly. That's after 8. First, here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Optimism, face-to-face negotiations could return and a Middle East peace deal secured. Iran says it's reviewing the US's proposal to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistani mediators appear confident about progress after Donald Trump paused the operation to escort stranded ships through the strait. Oil prices have dropped and the stock market's risen after reports of the potential deal. Former MI6 chief Sir John Sawyers says Pakistan's clearly informed the White House there's some movement on the Iranian side. Despite local opposition, the hantavirus-hit cruise ship is still heading towards the Canary Islands. 3 passengers have died from the rodent-borne disease, while a further 3 have been evacuated to the Netherlands. The president of the Canary Islands says he opposes the Spanish government's plan to let the ship dock there. However, the BBC says Spain has a humanitarian obligation to let the ship dock. Our latest dip in unemployment may be a blip. The unemployment rate fell to 5.3% in the March quarter, despite a surge in Bay of Plenty and increases in Auckland, Wellington and Canterbury. Some economists expect it will rise again throughout this year. Reserve Bank Governor Anna Bremen says that our economy was starting to turn a corner, but the Iran war is slowing that recovery right down. Cautious support for introducing a New Zealand citizenship test. Internal Affairs Minister Brooke Van Veldens announced applicants will have to pass 15 of 20 multi-choice questions on our history, politics and laws from late next year. Queen City Law Managing Director Marcus Beveridge says the test may not be too difficult for applicants who will have lived here for some time. And he says at the moment you have to tick a box suggesting you understand certain principles, but it doesn't mean you understand them in reality. A media law expert says the decision to scrap the Broadcasting Standards Authority could lead to the Wild West. The government's confirmed the authority will be binned, saying it isn't fit for purpose in today's media landscape. Victoria University's Professor Peter Thompson agrees the body was broken, but says the answer's to fix it, not bin it. He says allowing the industry to write their own rules is asking for trouble. The founder of the first ever 24/7 news channel, media mogul Ted Turner, has died. Turner Enterprises has announced the 87-year-old died peacefully surrounded by family. During his life, he built an empire that included countless channels and programs, including the launch of CNN in 1980.
Herald Now Sport.
A form of pace bowling idol looms for New Zealand ahead of their Ireland and England Test cricket tour. 9 candidates could potentially mark out the long run, but not Player of the Year Jacob Duffy, who's on paternity leave. Former All Blacks halfback Piri Wipu says fellow number 9, Cam Roigard's Super Rugby injury, gives Cortez Ratima and Noah Hotham the perfect chance to get new coach Dave Rennie's attention. Bryson DeChambeau claims he will shore up his future by focusing on his YouTube channel if Live Golf crumbles in the absence of Saudi Arabian investment.
Time is 5 minutes after 7. The coalition is failing on 2 numbers that matter most to us voters. Inflation is up over 3%, sure not as bad as the Aussies and not helped by Trump, but wage growth, crucially, wage growth is only 2%. The cost of buying stuff is going up quicker than we can afford to pay for it by working. Our real wages are, to use a word the BSA won't like, shite. You know when Luxon set the election date in January and said people needed to feel the recovery happening? They're not. That's why most of us reckon we're heading in the wrong direction when asked in the political polls, because they are. And people generally and rightly link their individual circumstances to that of the country. Now, some of you will be annoyed by this, but these are facts. You can't argue with them. However, they do not mean Labor is getting back into power. Far from it. Elections are about choice. Can I get a better deal from someone else? Labor's got basically 3 doctors' visits at already stretched GP clinics, financial and tax uncertainty because the Greens and Te Pāti Māori are going to yank them to the left. As I've said from the beginning, this coalition will be re-elected because they're relatively stable and Kiwis mostly traditionally give first-timers a second shot. These wage inflation numbers are not good for them, don't get me wrong, but they're not fatal either. The risk of the unknown, the devil you don't know, especially during a crisis, will in the end get Luxon re-elected Prime Minister. I still don't think that Kiwis, when they come to the polling booth in November, will want to risk getting out of the frying pan only to end up in the fire.
Herald Now Weather.
Well, rain out and wet weather making its way up the South Island today. Some heavy spells of rain already on that western coast. The first of several days of wet weather through there. For the North Island, generally a drier story, but still cloudy here. It's the South Island that's going to bear the brunt of that heavy rainfall. Severe weather warnings for heavy rainfall from Fiordland up towards Buller and Grey. A wet start down in the south. You can see most of that rainfall clears away from the east, but it will be something to watch out for as we head through the rest of today. A very mild start though across many parts of the Southland. Cloudy, showers and spells of rain reaching across and towards the eastern coast, but heaviest with the risk of some thunder up that western coast. For the north side, it is a drier story, but with that east-west split, more cloud on those western-facing coasts, thick enough to bring some showers as we head through the daytime, but drier, brighter, and some decent spells of sun out east. We'll find it stays rather cloudy through the Bay of Plenty, 1 or 2 showers through the daytime, and a similar story as we head up here to the north as well for places like Northland and Auckland. Cloudy at times to give us an odd shower. As we head on in towards Friday, we're going to find more wet weather back with us, pushing it back in from the Tasman Sea, especially heavy for the likes of, say, the Tasman region, Buller and Grey. Keep an eye on those severe weather watches and warnings. Pretty windy as well.
Right to our developing story this morning. Stock markets on Wall Street are up to new highs again this morning. Oil price down. Europe finished up. The FTSE in the UK, in London, that was up too. Why? Well, Trump's been tweeting again about the war and he's mentioning a peace deal. However, the post on Truth Social also said if they don't agree, this is the Iranians, the bombing starts and it will be, sadly, at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Here's what he had to say about turning the American economy around earlier this morning.
We have an amazing military, and I think it's on display. Sometimes you'd rather not have it be on display, but they're there for a purpose. And the greatest military anywhere in the world, and the world is watching us as we do our thing. And we have the respect of the world, which we didn't have 2 years ago. We were a laughingstock all over the world. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world in every way. So I just want to congratulate you all because you're a big part of it.
9 minutes after 7. Meanwhile, it's been confirmed that Israel has carried out airstrikes on Lebanon. This is for the first time since the ceasefire began. The Prime Minister there, Benjamin Netanyahu, issued a statement saying the IDF has targeted a Hezbollah commander in Beirut. Within the last half hour, international news agency AFP has reported the Hezbollah commander has been killed in the strikes. Returning home now, the new Stats NZ figures show unemployment dipped slightly in the March quarter, down from 5.4 to 5.3%. That's on quarter 4 of last year. Some of that because of rising youth unemployment. This is the number that's tracked by NEAT, the number of young people not in education, employment or training, who are aged between 15 and 24. Sadly, this rate now sits at 15.9%, more than 100,000 young people. A year ago, it was 14.4. That's a problem. Nicola Willis is the Finance Minister. It's her job to sort it out. Joins us live this morning. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good to have you on the program. Generally, not as bad as it could have been, although still only a month of the war included in those numbers. The youth number, how worried are you about that?
I don't like seeing that number where it is because, yes, not every young person will get a job, but there's always the opportunity to enter training in New Zealand. We've done a lot of work refurbing the Polytech system to make it more regionally responsive so that there are good courses available for school leavers, regardless of whether or not they obtained a qualification at school. So we want to see those young people taking up those opportunities, and they are available to them. So that's a number that we'll continue to track closely because if you can't get a job, you should be in training.
Totally. Which begs the question, what are they doing?
Well, we're making sure that there are incentives in the system so that if they're not in a job or training, it's not easy to sit there and just take a benefit. We think that's important. And there are a range of supports available. So we will continue to track that number. Louise Upston, the Minister for Social Development, is ensuring that there are a range of programs available. So training courses, wraparound provision, helping kids into trades training, into apprenticeships, and those choices are all available and heavily subsidised by the government.
On wages, 2% wage growth, given the way inflation is, do you concede this is a failure? Not saying it's your fault, but it's a failure.
Well, what I always want to see is people's wages growing faster than inflation, because that's what adds up to you feeling like you can get ahead, that you've got a little bit more money.
So if that's not happening, how do you describe that? A success or a failure?
Well, I'm really conscious that you're talking about average figures and there's different ways of measuring it. So what the data released yesterday shows is that around 55% of people were getting wage increases. If you look at average hourly work hours, that was up 3.5% in terms of earnings, whereas the labour cost index figure you're referring to was up 2%. So people will have a range of circumstances. What we want to see is that people have the opportunity to get a promotion, to get a new job that pays better, or to get a pay rise. What you don't want to see, though, is that those figures are running hot, but all you're seeing is that it's resulting in more inflation, because there's no point in a pay rise if actually everything is rising faster in cost than that. So when the Reserve Bank is monitoring inflation figures, it's always looking at what's the overall pressure on prices looking like. And what we want to see is an equilibrium where wages are rising a bit faster, but you're not getting runaway inflation.
Totally. So you wouldn't, to answer the question, because it's 2% is the average, which is the one that we use, you're saying it's not necessarily a failure that we don't have wages climbing higher than prices, because actually that could feed inflation.
Well, what I'm seeing very clearly is that, one, it's an average, so it doesn't describe everyone's circumstance, and two, broadly the data indicates that the labour market was recovering ahead of the conflict in the Middle East taking shape. And so this is very backward looking. It's hard to look at this and say that's what will happen for the year ahead. It's highly unlikely, because a lot has changed since the first 3 months of this year. And so I just don't think it's a number that we can look at and say, right, let's lock and load. That's what it's going to look like in 2026. There's a lot of events happening overseas which are going to impact those figures here at home next time we have a date.
Hey, Minister, I saw the proactive release of information from you guys and from Treasury about the worst case scenarios. You know, it was looking like 7% inflation and, $5.50 or higher for petrol. Is it fair to say, just your judgment of where we're at now, the way that Trump is slowly weaning himself off this war and getting out of the Strait and all that stuff, that the worst case scenarios we've probably missed?
Well, it does look like that right now, because those worst case scenarios were predicated on the average price of a barrel of oil getting up to $180. And right now it's been 110, I think it is the highest it's been in recent days. And it does seem to track down when Donald Trump tweets that peace is going to break out. And we've seen that it hasn't reached those highs that those worst case scenarios were based on. So it does seem like we're in the more moderate scenario that Treasury was forecasting. But again, I'm just so conscious there are big events outside our control. And if I could predict the average price of a barrel of oil, I'd be a very, very wealthy woman. So that is not something that anyone can confidently 100% predict right now. But everything remains as it's been. The sooner that strait reopens, the sooner the conflict comes to a close, the better it is for New Zealand, the better it is for the world.
You've seen the budget. Boffin's done their new forecast for the budget yet. How ugly is she looking?
They have done their forecasts, and look, we are continuing to see growth occurring in the New Zealand economy, just a bit slower than it would have been without the Middle East conflict, and a bit more delayed than it would have been without the Middle East conflict. So the underlying fundamentals of the New Zealand economy, in which our exporters are continuing to get good prices overseas, and are continuing to reach markets overseas, in which we are seeing that the government's efforts to remove red tape is allowing major developments through the fast-track legislation to occur, in which you have seen interest rates drop significantly, making it easier for people to borrow. All of that good stuff is still there. It hasn't been wiped away, but we're just not growing as fast as we would like to.
Surplus delayed?
I'm not going to talk about when the surplus is happening, but that is something I expect you and others will focus on budget day. But I can't announce the key numbers in the budget
As we should. At 2030, because at the moment, as we stand, 2030, right?
At the half-year update in December, we were forecasting surplus in the 29-30 fiscal year, but we have a very clear goal that we want to return to surplus a bit sooner than that in the 28-29 fiscal year. That's our goal, and we are sticking to it. Yes, there are events outside of our control, but those goals of getting the books back in surplus, getting that debt curve bending down, reducing the government's share of the economy down to more like 30%.
All
Those
right.
remain our core fiscal strategy.
You've seen the numbers, Minister, and you are sticking to your target, and that tells me something. I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me. Oh, actually, very quickly, just saw a report this morning. Apparently, we were going to be looking at storing fuel in Singapore and Malaysia. Do you know anything about that?
Well, what we've done already is secured that extra diesel supply that will be stored at Marsden Point in those new tanks that we've refurbished. What we're now looking at is what are the options on jet fuel? Jet fuel is a bit more complicated because the storage it requires is very sophisticated, takes a long time to get online, and there are limited options in New Zealand currently. So we're considering a large range of ideas, and one of them that has been put to us is if you wanted a special strategic reserve, you could potentially store it offshore, available if you were coming into any shortages. So we'll work through all of those options. No decisions have been made.
All right, Minister, appreciate your time. Have a great morning. Thanks for being with me. It is 18 after 7. That's Nicola Willis, the Finance Minister, live from Parliament. Right. Been a big increase in the number of Kiwis choosing finance companies over banks. This is thanks to our new protection scheme. The Depositor Compensation Scheme was launched in July last year. It basically gives you protection up to $100,000 per person, per bank or finance company. If the company goes tits up, goes belly up, you get to keep $100K. Think the finance company, well, I mean, you could rattle off the list, South Canterbury Finance, etc. And this is what's happening. Finance company deposits have gone up 30% since then, according to the Reserve Bank yesterday. And in turn, the finance companies are handing it back out at an increased volume. Residential mortgage lending by finance companies is also up 30% over the time. It's also caused the interest rate gap between banks and finance companies to close. Early last year, finance companies were carrying rates on average 1.4 percentage points higher than banks. Last month, with this new scheme well in place, that was down to just 0.5%. Pernell Callaghan is Fin-based Managing Director, one of these finance companies, joins us this morning. Pernell, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Nice to have you on the program.
Nice to be here, thank you.
So does this sort of marry up what the Reserve Bank's talking about with what you're seeing?
Yeah, I'd say that is exactly what we're seeing across the ground. So the government's obviously signalling confidence in the sector, in non-banks and private credit firms, where we can provide alternative borrowing solutions for people who don't typically meet main bank criteria. So think about maybe a self-employed business owner or maybe someone who wants to buy a property, renovate it and then flip it for a profit. That might only be a 6-month loan, and that's typically not something that a main bank would probably want to look at. They're typically in the 30-year mortgage space for homeowners. So we're seeing that gap's really been filled by private credit firms or finance companies like ourselves.
Like yours, like Fin-based. So you guys are doing, because on the deposit side, you're only dealing with bigger guys, not individual retail investors, is that right?
Correct, yes. So Fin-based itself, we typically deal with high net worth individuals, family offices or larger institutions. So we're typically looking at investment sizes from 2 to 20 million, and then institutions might be 50 million and upwards. So we're not a retail deposit taker. I
wouldn't come and give you my money, but you are giving mortgage lending out. Residential mortgage lending?
Residential mortgage lending. We also do commercial, rural. We'll look at any strong security that we can take a first mortgage over.
Do I have to pay you more interest than I would pay a bank because I'm a riskier borrower?
Yes, the interest rates are higher, but it's
How
a different type of risk. Anywhere it could be from 0.5% up to 2% difference. What the borrowers are paying for is for speed, flexibility, and certainty of an outcome. Where at the bank they're looking for very long-term mortgage, home buyers with stable income jobs. So the increase in interest.
And very one size fits all, aren't they?
Yeah, I'd say they do exactly that. That's what they're designed to do, and they do it very well. Large scale, low risk borrowers for 30-year mortgages.
How often do your people who are wanting money from you fail? How often do the deals go south?
We probably see default rates circle around 1.5%. That doesn't mean that there's any loss on the actual security or the borrowing itself, but that may mean we need to go through an enforcement scenario or what's called a mortgagee sale to recoup the capital. So We've been lucky enough to not have any capital losses, but there are situations where borrowers fall behind on their interest repayments, and that's our job to manage that situation.
What sort of equity situation are you looking at? Because the RBNZ said yesterday 80% of the mortgages by finance companies are at loan-to-value ratios of less than 70%, so they're actually not that worried about it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, look, we take a conservative position and we're looking at the security. So across our portfolio right now, we're sitting at about a 55% LVR. So not that losses are impossible, but we would typically or likely be looking at a black swan type event for there to be significant losses across a portfolio, considering the LVR position.
Have you got people who are taking, because one of the things they talk about is people are taking money out of your traditional banks and then putting them into companies like yours or finance companies. Have you noticed people are doing $100,000 in, because it's covered not for you as an individual but for each account, isn't it? So I could have 100K at ASB, 100K with you, I could have 100K with Westpac,
yes,
and each of those individual 100Ks would be covered if there was some kind of black swan event.
That's correct.
Do you have people who are, or do you think people are actually doing that?
Yes, definitely. I think it's wise for investors to diversify their risk across a number of different positions. So we don't see in our situation high net worth investors as well. They're not pulling all of their money out of one institution, let's say a bank, and placing it all with us. They're diversifying their risk. So companies like ourselves, we really focus on income and generating yield for investors. And that will come with less liquidity than what a bank can offer. And banks are really good at doing, let's talk about term deposits, where they can offer low risk solutions, but the yield is typically lower, as you would have seen, but the liquidity is definitely there for people.
What sort of return could you give me? I mean, I'm not rich enough probably to come see you, but if you took 100 grand from me, what return could you give me?
Yeah, look, our returns right now, we typically benchmark against what's called BKBM, similar to OCR, so that's at about 2.5% right now. And we aim for 5 to 7% over that target. So in today's numbers, you're probably looking anywhere from 7 to 9%.
Interesting stuff. Hey, good to have you on the show this morning. Thanks for talking.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
HNOW Callahan, Finbase Managing Director. Time is 25 minutes after 7. Right, let's go to the battle for sunbeds over in, well, it's not just in the UK, it's around the world, but it's mainly Brits, because Brits are so pasty that they need to get the sun on them. And as soon as they get to their Club Med or wherever they're going, they race for the sunbeds. Have a look at this.
Here we go. Get ready.
You ready to go?
Good.
Oh, mate. Oh, God.
That bloke there loves it. Look at the time for argument.
Yeah, so this does not look like my idea of fun or a holiday, but this is what happens all around the world. And what's interesting is that a German man, not this one because he's involved, but a German man has successfully managed to sue a tour operator, a travel operator, for not being able to secure a sunbed because all the Brits were there from 6 o'clock in the morning getting theirs. So this guy spent a little over £7,000 for him and his wife and his 2 kids to go on holiday. Lovely idea. They were told that there was no bagsing of sunbeds, so you can't go put your towel down and bags a sunbed. However, that's exactly what happened. And he said he spent 20 minutes per day trying to find a spot on a sunbed, and that wasted his precious, valuable holiday time. Wants a refund, please. He's won one in court, £1,000. 27 after 7. Disgraceful behaviour. Back after this.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
We all have a routine to help us get through the week. But that doesn't mean it has to feel so routine. Because with My Food Bag, you can come home knowing you've always got a yum meal to dish up. With new recipes to try and plenty of favourites that are simple, healthy and always delicious. It's a dinner routine that isn't stuck on repeat. My Food Bag. Dinner done better.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has free Aussie business roaming. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
For 150 years, public trust has helped generations of New Zealanders with their wills. Make yours today and ensure the things that matter go to the people that matter.
"29 after 7 o'clock. Very quickly, you know, everyone loves Singapore at the moment. Nicola Willis has been there, Luxon's been there, all the business leaders have been there. Why can't we be more like Singapore? Well, do you really want to be? Singapore is bringing back the cane for kids at school, not even at home, at school. So you've got to be 9 years or older, only for boys and only for bullies. So if you bully another kid, if you're a boy in Singapore, you bully another kid, you're over 9, you might get the cane. The principal has the final say on who gets caned. There are authorised teachers who will do the caning. This is a real story, come out overnight. And they will consider the maturity of the student and if caning will help the student learn from his mistake. So there you go. They are quite different to us, it turns out. It is just gone 7:30 now. Let's go to Alberta, Canada. Texas of the Great White North, they call it, could soon be called the world's newest country. As we told you yesterday, the Stay Free Alberta movement has collected more than 300,000 signatures trying to get independence, to break away from the rest of Canada, well above the 178,000 signatures that they actually needed to get a referendum. For context, Alberta is one of 10 provinces in Canada, features the well-known cities of Alberta and Calgary, and borders British Columbia to the west. Just over 5 million people live in the province, which measures 662,000 square kilometres. And what do they do there? Well, apart from ice hockey, Alberta produces around 4 million barrels of oil every day, which is at the heart of why they want to break away. Mitch Silvestre is with the Stay Free Alberta movement, and he will be with us right after news.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Optimism, face-to-face negotiations could return and a Middle East peace deal secured. Iran says it's reviewing the US's proposal to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistani mediators appear confident about progress after Donald Trump paused the operation to escort stranded ships through the strait. Oil prices have dropped and the stock market's risen after reports of the potential deal. Former MI6 chief Sir John Sawyers says Pakistan's clearly informed the White House there's some movement on the Iranian side. Despite local opposition, the hantavirus-hit cruise ship is still heading towards the Canary Islands. 3 passengers have died from the rodent-borne disease, while a further 3 have been evacuated to the Netherlands. The president of the Canary Islands says he opposes the Spanish government's plan to let the ship dock there. However, the BBC says Spain has a humanitarian obligation to let the ship dock. Our latest dip in unemployment may be a blip. The unemployment rate fell to 5.3% in the March quarter, despite a surge in Bay of Plenty and increases in Auckland, Wellington and Canterbury. Some economists expect it will rise again throughout this year. Reserve Bank Governor Anna Bremen says that our economy was starting to turn a corner, but the Iran war is slowing that recovery right down. Cautious support for introducing a New Zealand citizenship test. Internal Affairs Minister Brooke Van Veldens announced applicants will have to pass 15 of 20 multi-choice questions on our history, politics and laws from late next year. Queen City Law Managing Director Marcus Beveridge says the test may not be too difficult for applicants who will have lived here for some time. And he says at the moment you have to tick a box suggesting you understand certain principles, but it doesn't mean you understand them in reality. A media law expert says the decision to scrap the Broadcasting Standards Authority could lead to the Wild West. The government's confirmed the authority will be binned, saying it isn't fit for purpose in today's media landscape. Victoria University's Professor Peter Thompson agrees the body was broken, but says the answer's to fix it, not bin it. He says allowing the industry to write their own rules is asking for trouble. The founder of the first ever 24/7 news channel, media mogul Ted Turner, has died. Turner Enterprises has announced the 87-year-old died peacefully surrounded by family. During his life, he built an empire that included countless channels and programs, including the launch of CNN in 1980.
Herald Now Sport.
A form of pace bowling idol looms for New Zealand ahead of their Ireland and England Test cricket tour. 9 candidates could potentially mark out the long run, but not Player of the Year Jacob Duffy, who's on paternity leave. Former All Blacks halfback Piri Wipu says fellow number 9, Cam Roigard's Super Rugby injury, gives Cortez Ratima and Noah Hotham the perfect chance to get new coach Dave Rennie's attention. Bryson DeChambeau claims he will shore up his future by focusing on his YouTube channel if Live Golf crumbles in the absence of Saudi Arabian investment.
Herald Now Weather.
Well, rain out and wet weather making its way up the South Island today. Some heavy spells of rain already on that western coast. The first of several days of wet weather through there. For the North Island, generally a drier story, but still cloudy here. It's the South Island that's going to bear the brunt of that heavy rainfall. Severe weather warnings for heavy rainfall from Fjorden up towards Buller and Grey. A wet start down in the south. You can see most of that rainfall clears away from the east, but it will be something to watch out for as we head through the rest of today. A very mild start though across many parts of the South Island. Cloudy, showers and spells of rain reaching crossing towards the eastern coast, but heaviest with the risk of some thunder up that western coast. For the North Island, it is a drier story, but that east-west split, more cloud on those western-facing coasts, thick enough to bring some showers as we head through the daytime, but drier, brighter, and some decent spells of sun out east. We'll find it stays rather cloudy through the Bay of Plenty, 1 or 2 showers through the daytime, and a similar story as we head up here to the north as well for places like Northland and Auckland. Cloudy at times to give us an odd shower. As we head on in towards Friday, we're going to find more wet weather back with us, pushing it back in from the Tasman Sea, especially heavy for the likes of, say, the Tasman region, Buller and Grey. Keep an eye on those severe weather watches and warnings. I think pretty windy as well.
Right, we're going to Alberta, Canada. I promised you this just before we went to the news. So basically what's happening is there will be a referendum after a freedom movement, a breakaway and independence movement in Alberta, Canada, to basically pull it out of Canada and make it its own country, has gained enough signatures to force one. Mitch Sylvester is Stay Free Alberta. He's the leader of this group that is leading the charge and joins us live. Mitch, nice to have you on the program here in New Zealand.
Well, there you go. I'm officially, this is officially the first time I talked to a New Zealander, actually.
Really?
So, yeah, so it's quite an honor, I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm going to make a good impression.
Yes, it's all on you.
Tell me about Alberta. Why are you doing this?
Well, Alberta is Alberta's the breadbasket of Canada, for lack of a better way to put it. We produce 88% of Canada's oil. We're the producers. We're an actual agricultural place. We have big agriculture. We have everything here. Alberta is literally one of the richest places in the world. We have oil and gas, we have minerals, we have fresh water in abundance. We have a large agricultural sector. Alberta beef is famous all around the world. We have, half of the province is wilderness. But we're one of the top three places that top three largest oil reserves in the world. We have lots of natural gas as well. But here's the problem. Our federal government is doing its best to sabotage our industry. All the green rules have come into play here, even though, in spite of the fact that we're probably, we are the cleanest oil patch in the world. We produce, a lot of oil, but I referred to the fact that we have billions and billions of trees here as well. So we're not a carbon risk. We actually are not a carbon producer here based on, everything that we have here. So what I'm saying to you is we vote Conservative exclusively, like the whole province. The federal government for the last 10 to 12 years has been Liberal. They don't line up with anything that we believe in. As a matter of fact, they line up with a lot of stuff that we actually don't believe in. And we believe that the situation has got intolerable enough that it's time for us to go out on our own and rule our own area.
Mitch, fascinating to hear you talk like this. Tell me how the restrictions or the legislation, the rules that the Liberal government's been imposing, how that is affecting you. Can you give us an example of something that is, a ball and chain around Alberta?
Okay, so just saying, we're a province in from the West Coast. British Columbia is straight west of us. We have one pipeline going to Tidewater, which allows us to send our oil basically to the U.S. We could do one or two more, so we could ship oil around the world, and especially, to parts of Asia and that kind of thing that are actually begging for our oil. BC sends all of its product across Alberta by train. 70% of everything that lands in Port-au-Prince, Rupert, or Port of Vancouver, and yet they won't allow us to ship our oil to the coast. That's the number one thing. So the second part of it is that the federal government has stacked all manner of taxes on top of our oil patch they call carbon tax. They've actually increased the cost of production of a barrel of oil here from $6 to $15 a barrel. So we produce 5 million barrels of oil a day. And here's another thing that is particularly annoying. We send Quebec, another province in Canada, $13 billion a year net. And they buy 1 million barrels of oil a day from Saudi and the rest of the world. They don't even buy their oil from us. So Alberta ships $47 billion net one way to Ottawa. We actually ship $70 billion there, which we get $23 billion back. So we're thinking that that's a little bit unreasonable. We think that should be closer to, a business relationship instead of, them actually taking advantage of Alberta's benevolence up to now, which is the lack of a better word.
Mitch, do you like Carney more than you hated Trudeau?
Say it again?
Do you hate Mark Carney less than you hated Trudeau?
I would have to suggest to you that Justin Trudeau's the most hated prime minister in the history of Canada besides his father. And Mark Carney right now has a list of ethics violations already piled up that are going to dwarf Justin Trudeau's by the time he's done. Mark Carney's done something that we find is very interesting here. He's introduced the New World Order. He actually talked to the Xi Jinping in Beijing. And he said that we're going to line up with the New World Order, but we'd like him to explain exactly what that is. We're a very conservative province here. Like I said, 37 seats here, 34 are conservative. So just understand that we got more signatures in our petition signing campaign here in the last 4 months than Carney got votes in Alberta.
Wow. So I was going to ask, so the number you've got, 300,000, does that now definitely trigger the referendum?
Well, that's going to depend on our Premier, Donnell Smith. She's indicated to us that it's going to. This is a citizens' initiative petition. The Aboriginal people are trying to block it, and we don't believe that's constitutional. There's already been 2 referendums in Canada, in Quebec, so we're waiting for the lawfare to stop.
Okay.
And that's
and where do you want to go? Mitch, where do you want to go? America or just Alberta, the new nation of the world?
Alberta, the new nation, without question. It's not even a discussion. The 51st state thing is less than 2% of Albertans want that.
Good to see you this morning. Nice to be with you, and I hope I've made a good impression as the first Kiwi you've ever spoken to.
Yeah,
that
it is.
Mitch Sylvester, who's live from Alberta, Canada, leading the charge to get that referendum done and through. It is 18-8. We're back after this.
We have completed 4 builds with GJ. Every time we want to think of building, we always go back to GJ.
It's a really good experience throughout the whole process.
They deliver what they promise on, and it feels like working with a family member. It's very easy and trustworthy to work with GJ.
Do you want a warm, healthy home? Insulate your walls with Insulmax. The easy, cost-effective way to insulate your walls, usually in just one day. Wall insulation without renovation for older Kiwi homes. Fully certified for New Zealand conditions. Join the thousands of Kiwis enjoying a warm, dry, energy-efficient home with Insulmax retrofit wall insulation. Visit nzherald.co.nz to book your free home assessment.
With the goodness of grains, Molenbeek. Keep me going longer!
I want my Molenbeek!
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has free Aussie business roaming. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost centre reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Quarter to 8 now. Let's go to some breaking news. The US has fired on an Iranian tanker. This as Project Freedom, the operation trying to guide those ships through the strait, is on pause. US Central Command says it disabled the vessel in the Gulf of Oman by firing several rounds of ammunition from a fighter jet into the ship's rudder. The vessel, HNOW, was on its way to an Iranian port in the Gulf when US forces issued multiple warnings, told it to stop. It was in violation of the blockade, and they didn't listen, so the shots were fired. Meanwhile, Trump has called the Project Freedom pause temporarily and says it reflects great progress in the deal with Iran. Basically, what you need to know about what's happening there is that Trump is saying there might be a peace deal soon. Iran is saying there might be. Apparently there is a 1-page Word doc floating about somewhere that might get us close to it. No one really knows, do they, at this point? And one day Trump says something and the next day he says something else. So what do you actually trust? Interestingly, I listened to a podcast called Iran the Latest, and it's from The Telegraph. And in there, they said from day one of this conflict, that whatever happens, like the war is one thing, the strait is another. With the strait, you need a political solution. So long as you have even the threat of a little speedboat with a little gun or a little missile launcher, you won't have ships travelling freely through the strait. You need a political solution, and that is what slowly, after now how many weeks, Trump is realising. It is 14 away from 8. Back home now, and former CRL Chief Executive Sean Sweeney says New Zealand needs to stop the gold-plated projects, revealing that he thinks the City Rail link could have been completed for half the cost. Well, why didn't he then? Final price tag, in case you forgot, $5.5 billion. That skyrocketed from the original 3.4 because of inflation, scope changes, the pandemic. Our senior correspondent Katie Bradford has the story.
These 2 new underground stations look impressive from the outside. And inside, tall, striking, built to last, but designs this beautiful don't come cheap.
I do believe, because we don't do much of this, I do believe we're not very good at specifying the scope. And I do believe in New Zealand we're over-specifying jobs and it's making them too expensive, which means we do less of them.
So are you saying that you think the City Rail link was over-specified, over-engineered, too expensive, basically?
Well, I'm not going to make any friends for saying this, but in a nutshell, yes.
That's a yes. The project he led for 6 years cost taxpayers and ratepayers too much. Sweeney spent the past 2 years leading Dublin's metro rail link, and while touring Europe, he noticed stations being built a lot cheaper.
They have been brutally disciplined about how they've specified scope, and they've built very small, very affordable stations all through Copenhagen at a quarter of the cost of CRL.
How much cheaper do you think we could have had the CRL?
I think we could have delivered this for half the cost, but it would have looked different.
Auckland stations would have been smaller, had fewer platforms and escalators, also making them cheaper to maintain. Could you not see that those costs were too expensive? Should you have stepped in and stopped that?
I probably didn't have the experience in building metro stations then. We asked, before we got refunded, we were asked by government to look at any places we could save, and AT and Kiwi Rail were asked, and they came back and said they couldn't find anywhere to save money, and I didn't have the expertise or the background to challenge them. If that was me now, I would have reacted quite differently to it.
Yes, that's right. This is the guy who was CEO of the City Rail Link, who led the project for 6 years, admitting he didn't have the expertise to question its cost. The original cost of the Twin Tunnel project was $3.4 billion. That's skyrocketed by $2 billion due to scope changes, inflation and the pandemic. Some of that was obviously unavoidable. Mayor Wayne Brown's a reluctant supporter of the City Rail Link. He's repeatedly criticised the cost of it and of overspending on infrastructure in general. Major projects are also expensive in New Zealand because we don't do very many of them, meaning specialised staff often leave the country and we lack the public and private expertise. We have a tendency to gold plate projects.
I'm not the only one using the word gold plating, by the way.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yes, and so how do we now turn around and say, let's stop gold plating projects, let's go back to basics? He knows his comments may lose him friends and make some enemies, but he's still proud of the City Rail Link and thinks Aucklanders and visitors will feel the same way once it eventually opens.
If you go into these, you'll feel very proud to be an Aucklander from Tamaki Makaurau. You'll be very proud to be a Kiwi, and any tourist will know they're in New Zealand. That's beyond doubt. That the issue I have is affordability, and the stations that really impressed me were in Spain and Portugal, and the walls were just sprayed concrete, and you could have been in anywhere. And the question is, what do we need? We need a metro. Does it have to look beautiful? I don't think so.
After 2 years in Dublin, he's moving closer to home, kind of, across the ditch to lead the Inland Rail project. It's a 1,600 kilometre freight rail line that'll connect Melbourne and Brisbane.
It's about a $30 billion project to build a freight route essentially between Melbourne and Brisbane.
And perhaps a symbol of the size of New Zealand's infrastructure challenge, there's no role big enough to entice him back to our shores.
There are no jobs big enough for me to do here. Basically, where I add the most value is in multi-billion-dollar projects. That's where I've arrived at in my career. That's what I've done for the last 10 years. And there are no multi-billion-dollar projects going on in New Zealand at the moment. But when there are, I'd love to be involved.
Give you a call?
If I was called, I'd take the call.
Hoping he hasn't burnt too many bridges to stop that call coming one day.
Right, that was our senior correspondent, Katie Bradford. It is 9 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Very quickly, Trump's going to China next week. He's having a summit with Xi Jinping. First time a US president would have been there in 10 years. Last time was Obama. Now, actually last time would have been him last time he went, I would think. Now, just before we get to that next week, the Chinese Premier is meeting with the Iranian foreign minister right now in Beijing, getting a bit of intel ahead of this meeting. And they are expected, well, they are, in fact, talking about a peace agreement. China wants it more than anyone else. 12% of China's oil imports come out of Iran, so they have a vested interest in getting this thing over too. 8 away from 8. Let's go back to our story of the morning, and that is this so-called peace deal that might or might not be coming out of the US. We'll talk business thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Garth Bray, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan. You're right. All about the oil, all about the peace deal.
Yeah, how are the oil, well, how is the price of oil reacting to it?
Pretty much hard push down, close to about $100 a barrel last time I checked, so about an 8% drop. And really that's them looking at this deal saying, hey, it looks like the US wants this to happen. It looks like, as you mentioned, countries like China are very keen to have this happen. Not that it hasn't been bad for business. You've seen I think just reports out this morning of a 20% year-on-year increase in US exports of oil to North Asian countries and to Europe to basically fill the gap. I would say probably not a lot of that's winding up in China, I'm just going to guess, so maybe they are really feeling like they need to sort this out. It is hitting them though.
And the oil company is doing quite well out of it
too.
But
the US consumer, $4.50 a gallon for gas over
yeah,
here.
up from $3 before the war, which is a lot. Now, markets doing, how are they looking?
Oh, as you can imagine, on a tear. I think NASDAQ testing 50,000 again, Dow testing 50,000 again, quite possibly, but S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, the tech stocks really, they're at fresh sort of intraday highs. Intel, big news for them, their stock price has tripled, I think, since the start of the year. So a lot of that kind of tech confidence.
Chip stuff.
But just broadly, markets around the world generally on that news of a potential kind of ceasefire. Our own one off the back of the Infotil stuff that we talked about yesterday, that was up about 13%.
Yeah.
So investors really liking that we're part of that, or that company's part of that.
Yep. Chips doing well. Oil doing better in terms of a consumer point of view.
All going to come crashing down.
Now, what's this weird story about JP Morgan from the Wall Street Journal?
Well, and everywhere else, right? So this is claims of quite a lurid sexual assault lawsuit filed, like a grievance claim filed by a banker there, who claimed that a more senior female colleague had basically, in his filings, turned him into kind of a sex slave at work. Forcing him to do all kinds of things in return for, favourable promotion and so on. And then this popped up, and then he pulled it back after the co-worker pushed back and the bank pushed back and said not quite true, and then he refiled it again this week. This morning the Wall Street Journal is reporting that it had attempted to pay him out $1 million US to settle it before it even got anywhere, just to add some spice further. They're saying, look, we still see no merit in this, we were just trying to deal with it and obviously keep it out of the headlines. A lot of discussion about this, I guess, in finance chat. Very, very fascinating.
Yes, very unusual. Good
to see. JP Morgan, biggest bank in America.
No, exactly. So, very important bank indeed. Thank you very much for that. That's Garth with business. It is 5 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Very quickly while we're here, next week, Jim Chalmers, this is what's called finance minister equivalent, treasurer over in Australia. He's got his budget Tuesday. And the Australian had a story out this morning. They reckon that he is going to bring back some COVID-era tax break for businesses. So they offer 2 years of loss carrybacks. That's basically where you reduce your previous year's profit in order to reduce the amount of tax that you had to pay. Therefore, you get a refund and you invest that back into your business. It keeps things going, keeps the economy afloat, all that good stuff. They reckon that'll be in the budget next year. Also, here's a number for you, 300 billion New Zealand dollars. That is how much they reckon that the European Union, no wonder the Brits want it out, the European Union in red tape and paperwork and bureaucracy is costing the EU businesses. $300 billion a year, a ball and chain. Right, that is business. We talk business every day thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. It is now 4 minutes away from 8. The government is scrapping the BSA, that's the media regulator, the Broadcasting Standards Authority. They say it doesn't make sense anymore as the industry evolves away from traditional media into media like this, online. On ZB, Laura McClure, ACT MP, was on the show. I started by asking, basically telling her she's doing victory laps on this proposal.
Oh, look, absolutely. It's a huge win for freedom of speech here in New Zealand. But, yeah, the BSA was well and truly outdated, and it's time that it went.
What types of things should you not be able to say on the radio or on a podcast or on an online streaming show?
Well, look, I think that the point of that question is that it's absolutely up for debate. And the BSA, the mechanism of the BSA was to essentially, regulate or be the regulating body for our mainstream media. And part of that was up to them to decide, or uphold complaints. But it doesn't actually cover anything else from our mainstream media, and we know that young people in particular are consuming their media everywhere, whether it's online or whether it's on their social media. So, that is up for debate, but I don't believe the BSA is the right platform to be able to discuss that.
It's interesting you talk about social media. A lot of young people, that's obviously their main source of news, just of life in general. So isn't the message here really to parents in particular that you need to school your children on how to understand what is right, what is wrong, and what is fact and what is fiction?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's definitely a parent's job. It's definitely part of our education where our young people are online, and I believe that we need to do absolutely a bit more when it comes to teaching our kids about the online environment and how to spot right, wrong, disinformation, misinformation, because the issue isn't really with mainstream media, it's with anything that we can consume online.
That was Laura McClure, ACT MP, with me on News Talk ZB earlier this morning. It is 2 minutes away from 8 now. US military has released new pictures of a strike on a boat it claims was running drugs. Southern Command released the images on X of what it says is a strike on this boat in the eastern Pacific Ocean. It claims the strike killed 3 suspected drug traffickers. There you go. Right, it's 8 o'clock.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Paul, and now I'm going to help you solve your problems with Chelsea. Just DM us your problems, and together, let's fix them. Baking solves everything. DM us now.
So it was pitch black, middle of the night. Where are we going? We saw this tree. It was the tallest tree ever. And then we walked and walked. Then we saw a cow. Well, Mom did.
That's quite an adventure, buddy.
Yeah, it kind of was. What do you want to do now?
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity. And to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GGs because they're good quality that they always provide us.
They've helped us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Good morning, Thursday the 7th of May. Great to have your company. On the show this hour, St John wants paramedics to not change the sheets in between patients in the beds inside the ambulances. If it sounds horrifying, well, may not be quite as bad as you think, but it's all to save money. We'll talk to them about that. And are you an expert on the Bill of Rights Act? The government wants migrants to start passing a test if they're to become a Kiwi citizen. So what's going to be in the test and how would you go? We'll ask. Also this morning, a British comedian and TV personality, Stephen K. Amos, is here for the International Comedy Fest. He's with me in studio live before 9. First, here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Optimism, face-to-face negotiations could return and a Middle East peace deal secured. Iran says it's reviewing the US's proposal to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistani mediators appear confident about progress after Donald Trump paused the operation to escort stranded ships through the strait. Oil prices have dropped and the stock market's risen after reports of the potential deal. Former MI6 chief Sir John Sawyers says Pakistan's clearly informed the White House there's some movement on the Iranian side. Despite local opposition, the hantavirus-hit cruise ship is still heading towards the Canary Islands. 3 passengers have died from the rodent-borne disease, while a further 3 have been evacuated to the Netherlands. The president of the Canary Islands says he opposes the Spanish government's plan to let the ship dock there. However, the BBC says Spain has a humanitarian obligation to let the ship dock. Our latest dip in unemployment may be a blip. The unemployment rate fell to 5.3% in the March quarter, despite a surge in Bay of Plenty and increases in Auckland, Wellington and Canterbury. Some economists expect it'll rise again throughout this year. Reserve Bank Governor Anna Brennan says that our economy was starting to turn a corner, but the Iran war is slowing that recovery right down. Cautious support for introducing a New Zealand citizenship test. Internal Affairs Minister Brooke Van Veldens announced applicants will have to pass 15 of 20 multi-choice questions on our history, politics and laws from late next year. Queen City Law Managing Director Marcus Beveridge says the test may not be too difficult for applicants who will have lived here for some time. And he says at the moment you have to tick a box suggesting you understand certain principles, but it doesn't mean you understand them in reality. A media law expert says the decision to scrap the Broadcasting Standards Authority could lead to the Wild West. The government's confirmed the authority will be binned, saying it isn't fit for purpose in today's media landscape. Victoria University's Professor Peter Thompson agrees the body was broken, but says the answer's to fix it, not bin it. He says allowing the industry to write their own rules is asking for trouble. The founder of the first ever 24/7 news channel, media mogul Ted Turner, has died. Turner Enterprises has announced the 87-year-old died peacefully surrounded by family. During his life, he built an empire that included countless channels and programs, including the launch of CNN in 1980.
Herald Now Sport.
A form of pace bowling idol looms for New Zealand ahead of their Ireland and England Test cricket tour. 9 candidates could potentially mark out the long run, but not Player of the Year Jacob Duffy, who's on paternity leave. Former All Blacks halfback Peti Wipu says fellow number 9, Cam Roigard's Super Rugby injury, gives Cortez Ratima and Noah Hotham the perfect chance to get new coach Dave Rennie's attention. Bryson DeChambeau claims he will shore up his future by focusing on his YouTube channel if Live Golf crumbles in the absence of Saudi Arabian investment.
Herald Now Weather.
Well, rain out and wet weather making its way up the South Island today. Some heavy spells of rain already on that western coast. The first of several days of wet weather through there. For the North Island, generally a drier story, but still cloudy here. It's the South Island that's going to bear the brunt of that heavy rainfall. Severe weather warnings for heavy rainfall from Fiordland up towards Buller and Grey. A wet start down in the south. You can see most of that rainfall clears away from the east, but it will be something to watch out for as we head through the rest of today. A very mild start though across many parts of the South Island. Cloudy, showers and spells of rain reaching crossing towards the eastern coast, but heaviest with the risk of some thunder up that western coast. For the North Island, it is a drier story, but with that east-west split, more cloud on those western-facing coasts, thick enough to bring some showers as we head through the daytime, but drier, brighter, and some decent spells of sun out east. We'll find it stays rather cloudy through the Bay of Plenty, 1 or 2 showers through the daytime, and a similar story as we head up here to the north as well for places like Northland and Auckland. Cloudy at times to give us an odd shower. As we head on in towards Friday, we're going to find more wet weather back with us, pushing it back in from the Tasman Sea, especially heavy for the likes of, say, the Tasman region, Buller and Grey. Keep an eye on those severe weather watches and warnings. It's been pretty windy as well.
Time is 7 minutes after 8. More cost cutting at St John. There are claims this morning that some staff have been instructed to stop replacing stretchers with fresh sheets after each patient has been through them, unless clinically required. Sounds a bit icky. Mark Quinn is New Zealand Ambulances Association Secretary, joins us live this morning. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So a lot of cost cutting going on. We've heard about this. What is it with this email that's gone out, this letter?
Well, St John are wanting to conserve cleaning costs, and so one of the initiatives they're taking amongst stopping cleaning at ambulance stations is to restrict the use of sheets on a bed as per patient.
So what exactly does that mean? Like, if presumably if I bleed out on a bed, they're going to replace the sheet. Is this just for, if you've got patients who being transported somewhere, they just won't change the sheet in that case?
Yeah, so it's trying to, some of the using the sheets from, or when you pick up the patient from the ward, using the existing sheets that the patient may be on, but often that can't be, that's not practical because of maybe fluids or just general state of the sheets, and so it may be possible to have to put them on a clean sheet. But I think this speaks to the thinking of St John at the moment, particularly when we look at the funding. This is what they are doing. They're removing cleaning from ambulance stations, or attempting to, and restricting how much linen should be used by the ambulance officer, which just adds total pressure to your normal working shift on the average ambulance officer, paramedic and patient transfer officer.
Mark, St John says these are basically small jobs, cleaning jobs that paramedics would basically be doing anyway.
Well, I disagree, because if you look at Auckland, they've had cleaning on the stations for 30 years, and the workload has significantly increased, and as by St John's own data, now they're wanting to remove them and add that role back to the ambulance officer. This is not about putting your plates away in the dishwasher. This is deep cleaning of the stations, because the stations that have cleaning are actually high workload stations. This is the stations where they jump on the truck at 6 o'clock in the morning and then leave and don't return till 6 o'clock at night when they hand over again. They're never there.
It's not like the fire service, which can often, you can spend a bit more time at station.
Agreed. I mean, there are stations around the country that are not so busy, but all stations across New Zealand have actually seen an increase in workload, even the rural ones. But there are stations that are able to do that, and we recognise that and understand that. But the stations that currently have commercial cleaners come into those stations to do the cleaning are very busy stations, and trying to maintain a level of cleanliness on the stations which supports not only the morale but the psychology of working in an ambulance station, but also feeling that the employer, Ate Hone St John, supports you in what you're doing. This is just recognised by staff as just another problem or symptomatic problem of funding of the ambulance service in New Zealand, where we only get 82% funding from the government.
Yeah, it's always been a problem that's irked me, and as I'm sure it does you, Mark. Hey, just before you go, is there anything sort of, I mean, it seems a bit icky, but is there like a hygiene issue potentially with this linen situation?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, I've been 25 years in the service. I've never been told when I should replace the linen or not replace it. It's common sense. But, I mean, it just goes to the state of the ambulance service at the moment, and I have to call into question the CEO, Peter Bradley, that we have a situation where we only have 82% of funding. He's happy with that to remain a charitable status. We have an economic crisis going on and relying on the public to fund the other 18%. I just don't think it's sustainable as an operational model. And these little things, like replacing sheet, is just indicative of where their thinking is. Let's just cut or restrict where we should be, and it's actually will impact on the patients and increase the complaints from the public to the St John Ambulance.
Mark, really appreciate your time this morning. We'll let you get back to it. Thanks for being with me. Mark Quinn, New Zealand Ambulances Association Secretary. Time is 12 after 8. Now, just want to point out that we went to St John and they said there will be no reduction in linen cleaning between patients. Any changes will not impact patient care. We're seeking clarification on exactly what they meant by that this morning. It is 12 minutes after 8 now. Right, Mamdani, this is the new New York mayor. He is, well, ruffling a few feathers in the 1%, you'd have to say. He's basically gone and gotten himself in a feud with billionaire Citadel CEO Kenneth Griffin over his plan to tax the rich and to tax their pied-a-terre penthouse apartments in the sky. Have a look at this video that he posted, this is Mamdani, last month, which is getting everyone riled up.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-a-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-a-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world.
Now, they are heading back, the billionaires that is, saying, shut up, Mamdani, you don't know what we do for this city. So the point they're making, because this tax is basically for a second house that you don't live in, and the billionaires are coming out and saying, you're an idiot, because think about it, you've got an apartment, very expensive apartment, that staff are working in, so you've got employment being created, you've got cleaners, you've perhaps got chefs, you've got wait staff, whatever, a doorman, all of that stuff. So you're creating employment, and these guys are paying property taxes, and on top of that, they're not using the city's services. There's barely anyone in there most of the time. So the billionaires are like, why are you attacking us? In fact, one of them, his name is Steve Roth. This caught my attention this morning. He has come out and said, I must say that I consider the phrase tax the rich spit out with anger and contempt by politicians both here and across the country to be just as hateful as some disgusting racial slurs. And even, he says, the phrase from the river to the sea, which is referring to the Israelis. So there you go. It's causing a lot of controversy in New York at the moment. How does regional New Zealand feel about the government's council amalgamation ultimatum? Well, we're going to speak shortly to Fed farmers for their reaction to what's been going on in Parliament in the last couple of days. We'll get to that next.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
We all have a routine to help us get through the week. But that doesn't mean it has to feel so routine. Because with My Food Bag, you can come home knowing you've always got a yum meal to dish up. With new recipes to try and plenty of favourites that are simple, healthy and always delicious. It's a dinner routine that isn't stuck on repeat. My Food Bag. Dinner done better.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has free Aussie business roaming. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
For 150 years, public trust has helped generations of New Zealanders with their wills. Make yours today and ensure the things that matter go to the people that matter.
Eighteen after 8. Yesterday we spoke about the government's sort of ultimatum, a deadline for coming together and doing super city type situations. This is from the RMA Minister Chris Bishop. Let's go to Sandra Faulkner for reaction, Fed Farmers Local Government spokesperson. Hey Sandra.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Nice to have you on the show. How's Gisborne this morning?
It is beautiful here today. I'm sorry I had to come back to my office to talk to you. I had the most amazing day out behind us here that, you had dogs and bikes and green grass and all the good things.
Brilliant. Love it. Sandra, do you think that this is a good move from the government? Do you want more amalgamation?
We have long believed that there's just far too many councils in this country. I don't think you would get any argument from anybody within the industry or even outside it as ratepayers that would say that we have just the right number. We need to get the number right down. It's been a problem for probably over a decade. It's probably long overdue.
Right. And the deadline, meaning they can do it sooner, the better. Are you worried at all about local, people say the only thing that they fly in the ointment would be local decisions being taken away and run by some big entity in the other regions?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's a very valid point. We have gone to the government with a proposal, given that Federated Farmers has worked alongside local government for well over 25 years across all of their plans. And we went to the government with a proposal that looked at representativeness as compared to localism. You'll often hear people talk about localism, but of course, for those of us in the provinces, it's very rare to have a senior management team or indeed your local representatives, your elected representatives, living within 10k of you. So we wanted to say, let's look at the communities of interest, again, something you'll hear a lot about, but basically have those senior management teams and elected representatives of the local authorities really understand what your needs are as a ratepayer. So if you live in a big city, your needs are very different to perhaps mine, where I live well out of a city. So it's making sure that that representation is in line with your needs and then is accountable for the decisions that they make.
Sandra, great to have your opinions this morning from Gisborne. Sandra Faulkner, Fed Farmers Local Government spokesperson. It is 20 after 8. Right, City Kickboxing. I love this story. This is home of MMA legend Israel Adesanya. They've got an anti-violence group that they run. Coaches including Eugene Behrman, who we've had on the program before. They're doing great work with 100 South Auckland secondary kids to give them the tools to deal with confrontation in a non-violent way, basically without punching each other. It's all about honouring City Kickboxing fighter Fo Vake, who was killed by a coward punch 5 years ago. Take a look.
Walk Without Fear Trust is we're kind of running an anti-violence campaign for high school age children, targeting the age between 13 and 16. We ran a pilot last year, but this is the first one we've run in association with our newly found charity partner, Blue Light Charitable Trust. And so, yeah, just a big event for us in terms of getting our message out about non-violence and kind of our anti-coward punch material. But just a chance to get down to grassroots level, you know, like affects children that are in that vital age where they still can be influenced.
The One Punch Too Many has been operating for around 2 years by our school community officers, Mo and Silla. They are police officers but also part of Blue Lighters itself. So the hope is to grab that program and enhance it, template it, and to roll it out to the wider Tāmaki Makaurau, i.e. South Auckland. At the moment it's only reached down to Papatoe, so we want to push it further right down to, down to the Franklin area schools.
The main thing we're trying to do is get inside the psyche of the young kids and get them to not normalise things like street violence, social violence on the social media, and obviously the coward punch. The problem nowadays is that behaviour is coming in so much through so many different avenues that it's starting to get normalised. And the reality is that what you're seeing on social media, what you're seeing on movies, and what you're seeing on these clips, that's not how violence operates. People don't just get up again and dust themselves off. Real violence on the street has proper consequences. We're bringing in role models, but we're bringing in real models, like real people that they can really understand with. The UFC athletes are some of the most exposed athletes on the planet. They have very high profile, but they don't get controlled like the All Blacks do or the NRL do. The people that you see on camera in terms of the UFC athletes, that's the person. And so I think there's that connection there with the young people. When people like Israel and Navajo and Carlos go into school, the students really connect with them and they really take that message to heart, and that's being reflected by the reports that we're getting back.
Right, time is 23 minutes after 8. It is time for us to get down with the kids. Have you seen this trend?
I'm shocked, guys. So apparently LMP is literally just these two mixed together. Apparently it's like 10% this.
And then the rest is Sprite. I should have got smaller cups. I don't know why I got the biggest cups in the house.
What? No way. No. No.
Oh shit.
Tastes like L&P, it's going down.
So, mate, two thoughts on this. One, is this what people spend their lives doing? Is that a glimpse into the life of a TikToker? How boring. Secondly, let's try it. Katie is going to come over. She's been working up a concoction, so I'm going to close my eyes. By the way, our panel's here. Dave Latelli, BBM Motivation founder. Good morning. We've got to close our eyes. Chelsea's here too. Chelsea, hello.
Hello.
So, Katie, what's going on?
I'm going to give you this in this hand here.
Katie's giving me this in my hand here.
Yeah, then the other hand. Got the same going for Dave.
What going on?
See?
Yeah.
You're going to blind taste.
Normally I like to see what I'm putting in my mouth.
We don't have to down them though, do we?
This is hard to do. How do you drink? Okay. So one of these will be L&P. One of them will be, what is it? Coke and lemonade.
Are we tasting now?
Yeah, go on. That's not L&P. Have you labelled the cups so the audience knows what's going on? I suppose not.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, that is quite hard.
That's difficult.
I think that's L&P.
Okay, another one.
How do we know? They even look the same. Why do we need to close our eyes?
Why
reckon this one.
I still have my eyes closed. Why didn't someone tell me everyone had their eyes open?
Okay. So what? So Katie, come back. What's going on? So this, I think this is L&P.
You're wrong.
All of us.
I think Dave copied me for sure. That one's the Jew.
Okay, dark one is L&P.
Yes, you're wrong.
So I'm wrong. You guys are right.
We're right.
Yes, cheers.
We should, yeah.
How could
We
you tell?
passed the citizenship test.
And so
Ouchie hop.
Yeah, which brings us neatly to our next subject this morning. Now that we've got that out of the way, do you like LNP?
No, I despise it.
Why did the politicians... Let's move on for that. Why did the
so
politicians...
now I'm kicked out of the country.
Why did they get chocolate and we get Coke
some
and
of that.
Sprite?
I don't know. Well, it was just a freebie I got on the day. Don't be jealous.
I was jealous when I was watching. I was going, why did they give them those chocolates? We were just in the day before.
Right. Now, I've got a quiz for you. Oh, shit, I've lost the quiz. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This morning has been quite a shambles.
And then you get me and Dave on.
This morning, the last 15 minutes, I think the wheels fell off, all right? But we'll bring it back. Anyway, what I need is our quiz. We wouldn't have given you the questions, would we? You can't help me here.
No, I can't help you. Well, I can tell you what I found. I did the Australian version online. I passed. But it's incredibly... I mean, even if you had no idea, you would have some idea, right? So one of the questions was, in Australia, we believe in mutual respect and tolerance. This means, multiple choice, A... You can physically fight someone who you disagree with. B, you only agree with people from the same religion. Or C, peacefully disagree with someone.
C. I'm going to lock in C.
You know what I mean? So it's not rocket science.
No. And if you,
So mostly common sense.
It's mostly common sense. There was another violence.
That's the least sense used sometimes.
Yeah, well, violence is against a person is acceptable if you have a different opinion, if they're from a different religion, or it's never acceptable and is against the law.
Okay, all right.
I'd go with C.
You would go with C, yeah. And anyone who answers otherwise, you don't want a new country. Okay, I've got some questions which David, who's our producer here, has come up with, because we don't actually have the official questions that the government wants to ask, but we know kind of what they'll be based on. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
What is the name of the Crown's representative in New Zealand?
Oh, shit.
Who represents the King?
Dame Cindy Kiro.
Yes, but what's the role? What's her
Auditor General.
Close.
No?
So close. So close, but we'll send you back to Australia.
Something general.
Governor General.
Governor General.
Yeah, very close.
Right. We need multiple choice, Ryan. You need to get some options.
Oh, that's true, actually. Okay, well, David hasn't done it like
Go
that.
on, David.
What are the official languages of New Zealand?
Te Reo and English.
No.
And sign language.
Sign language.
It's just sign and te reo. Because
Really?
English is not. That's
That's
why
what Winston's on
Winston
about.
wants to do
Oh.
it. Yeah. So
That's what-
this is the minutiae that you'll be getting into. I mean, I don't think they're going to be this hard.
It's
How
easier
about
when you have
violence is
options
bad?
Do not punch and kick. Oh, look, honestly, what is our electoral system? Like, what is it called? What type of electoral system do we have?
MMP.
Yes, very good.
You know, they need, like, can you drive? What side of the road do we drive on here? All those,
Yeah, that's a good
those
point.
basic ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What-
There was one in the Australian one, what does Anzac Day represent?
that's
Which I thought
good.
was a good one.
I think that's a good one too. So, if you don't get 75% of the answers right, then you...
You're not allowed in?
Out.
Is this the ACT party thing, is it?
Well, it's a government thing now, but initially, New Zealand First has sort of been crowing about this. ACT wanted it. It's now happening.
Next thing they're going to be pushing for, it's going to be like something like ICE agents over here roaming the streets. If they had their way.
Dave, youth unemployment is up again. We saw it in the stats yesterday.
Yep.
You've been telling us it for a while.
No one listens.
No one listens to Dave.
Well, you complain about so many things, Dave. It's hard to keep up. Like the list is
I'm
as
actually
long
quite a
as
happy
my
guy,
arm.
Ryan. It's just here I complain. It is hard. Like, you know, we've got a little gym and we've got a little cafe in it. We've been, you know, just throughout the gym looking for, you know, a barista and someone who makes good coffee and good protein smoothies. And so many kids are coming to apply for a job. So it's tough out there. My son, who's 17, he's applying everywhere. It's really hard to get jobs at the moment for these young kids.
But they are like motivated. They really want one. There just aren't enough jobs out there, right?
There's nothing out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little survey around the office this morning. When did you get your first job and what was it? And the general consensus was anywhere from like 17, 18. One guy worked at JB Hi-Fi, another one worked as like a lab technician or something, which is pretty advanced as a 17-year-old. But, you know, and I came to think, what was my main motivation to get a job at 15, by the way? I got my first job, and it was my dad. He said, you need to learn responsibilities, you're getting a job, and that's the main reason why I got a job, is that my dad told me that I had to get one.
Money.
Money.
You know, the hard thing as well is that, you know, it's tough, you know, owning a business as well with, you know, sometimes, you know, you want to be able to tell people to do stuff without them breaking down.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Can you go and clean the toilet? Oh. Janitor.
Yeah.
I said, well, if I can clean the toilet, so can you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's
So is
that a problem?
It's a generational thing.
Is that a problem that you sort of encounter when you're a manager or a boss or a business owner? Is that everyone's maybe a bit fragile?
A bit fragile.
And it's like,
you know, like
do your
my
job.
first job was KFC. You know, I think the days of you need these jobs where you're just an absolute bum boy.
Yeah.
And you're told, but you're taught all the stuff about process and just doing what you're supposed to do.
They used to call me dish pig in the kitchen in the cafes. Dish pig, do this. Dish pig, do that. They would hit me, you know.
You were hit?
Like, in a fun way.
Ryan, do we need to talk?
It wasn't like violent.
Closing your eyes, putting stuff in your mouth.
I know what's happening to Dave after those questions now.
No, but, you know, you're right. I think my mum made us get a paper run when we were 9.
Our kids had a paper run.
Yeah, 9 years old, out there doing but then on to the milk run. You see Michaela's in the control room shaking her head. Everybody's, you know, and then you work your way up to the cafe, you get into the restaurant. They were going to make me maitre d' at Cobb & Co. I mean, I was really going places for a while.
I'd never bike. I had a wheelbarrow with all the papers in, and it was so embarrassing. The tire was flat, and I'm pushing it around, and all the kids on the bus were going past. It was so embarrassing. But it taught me something. Taught me something. Work hard, so I don't have to deliver papers all my life.
Totally.
You know,
exactly.
Kids these days miss that stuff.
Yeah. Get
I used to cut threads I worked in a literal sweatshop, and I used to cut the threads off of underwear that they were making in the sweatshop. And then I worked in a florist, and then I worked in my mum's gift store, and that was all before the age, I think, of 16.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you got to do this.
Totally. We used to get paid, like if you were 13, you get $3 an hour, 14, $4 an hour, $5, which was not legal, but like whatever.
Oh no, none of this was legal.
Yeah.
It was all cashies, but
Let's walk down memory lane. if only the young kids were as, you know, motivated and successful as all of us, right?
Yeah, right. Look at where we are now. Wouldn't you
I
want
want to
this?
paddle and tell the difference between Sprite and tea and Coke.
Hey, cheers. Good to see you both this morning. Thank you. That is Dave Latelli, the highly successful Dave Latelli, PBM Motivation, and Chelsea Daniels from the front page. It's time for Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Optimism, face-to-face negotiations could return and a Middle East peace deal secured. Iran says it's reviewing the US's proposal to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistani mediators appear confident about progress after Donald Trump paused the operation to escort stranded ships through the strait. Oil prices have dropped and the stock market's risen after reports of the potential deal. Former MI6 chief Sir John Sawyers says Pakistan's clearly informed the White House there's some movement on the Iranian side. Despite local opposition, the hantavirus-hit cruise ship is still heading towards the Canary Islands. 3 passengers have died from the rodent-borne disease, while a further 3 have been evacuated to the Netherlands. The president of the Canary Islands says he opposes the Spanish government's plan to let the ship dock there. However, the BBC says Spain has a humanitarian obligation to let the ship dock. Our latest dip in unemployment may be a blip. The unemployment rate fell to 5.3% in the March quarter, despite a surge in Bay of Plenty and increases in Auckland, Wellington and Canterbury. Some economists expect it'll rise again throughout this year. Reserve Bank Governor Anna Brennan says that our economy was starting to turn a corner, but the Iran war is slowing that recovery right down. Cautious support for introducing a New Zealand citizenship test. Internal Affairs Minister Brooke Van Veldens announced applicants will have to pass 15 of 20 multi-choice questions on our history, politics and laws from late next year. Queen City Law Managing Director Marcus Beveridge says the test may not be too difficult for applicants who will have lived here for some time. And he says at the moment you have to tick a box suggesting you understand certain principles, but it doesn't mean you understand them in reality. A media law expert says the decision to scrap the Broadcasting Standards Authority could lead to the Wild West. The government's confirmed the authority will be binned, saying it isn't fit for purpose in today's media landscape. Victoria University's Professor Peter Thompson agrees the body was broken, but says the answer's to fix it, not bin it. He says allowing the industry to write their own rules is asking for trouble. The founder of the first ever 24/7 news channel, media mogul Ted Turner, has died. Turner Enterprises has announced the 87-year-old died peacefully surrounded by family. During his life, he built an empire that included countless channels and programs, including the launch of CNN in 1980.
Herald Now Sport.
A form of pace bowling idol looms for New Zealand ahead of their Ireland and England Test cricket tour. 9 candidates could potentially mark out the long run, but not Player of the Year Jacob Duffy, who's on paternity leave. Former All Blacks halfback Piri Wipu says fellow number 9, Cam Roigard's Super Rugby injury, gives Cortez Ratima and Noah Hotham the perfect chance to get new coach Dave Rennie's attention. Bryson DeChambeau claims he will shore up his future by focusing on his YouTube channel if Live Golf crumbles in the absence of Saudi Arabian investment.
Herald Now Weather.
Well, wet weather making its way up the South Island today. Some heavy spells of rain already on that western coast. The first of several days of wet weather through there. For the North Island, generally a drier story, but still cloudy here. It's the South Island that's going to bear the brunt of that heavy rainfall. Severe weather warnings for heavy rainfall from Fiordland up towards Buller and Grey. A wet start down in the south. You can see most of that rainfall clears away from the east, but it will be something to watch out for as we head through the rest of today. A very mild start though across many parts of the South Island. Cloudy, showers and spells of rain reaching crossing towards the eastern coast, but heaviest with the risk of some thunder up that western coast. For the North Island, it is a drier story, but with that east-west split, more cloud on those western-facing coasts, thick enough to bring some showers as we head through the daytime, but drier, brighter, and some decent spells of sun out east. We'll find it stays rather cloudy through the Bay of Plenty, 1 or 2 showers through the daytime, and a similar story as we head up here to the north as well for places like Northland and Auckland. Cloudy at times to give us an odd shower. As we head on in towards Friday, we're going to find more wet weather back with us, pushing it back in from the Tasman Sea, especially heavy for the likes of, say, the Tasman region, Buller and Grey. Keep an eye on those severe weather watches and warnings. It's pretty windy as well.
It is 21 minutes away from 9. It's Mother's Day this Sunday, just a reminder. If you want to win something amazing for your mum, of course you do. Ryan Bridge today and JW Marriott are helping you win a luxury Auckland staycation. This is a great prize. Escape the everyday with a refined city stay at JW Marriott in Auckland, paired with a dining experience at Trivet Restaurant. That's a night's accommodation for 2 adults, 2 kids. Take the kids along as well. JW Marriott here in Auckland, and a vibrant Kaimwana Pacifica dining experience for you, all at Trivet. The prize is valid for May and June. Entries close this Thursday. We'll reveal the winner on the show Friday, and this is how you enter. Scan this QR code. Go on, get your phone out, get off the couch, get away from the computer, scan this QR code. It'll get you onto the entry page, and then you can enter your details from there. We'll reveal the winner on Friday. It is time to talk property now, thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. It's a real Cinderella story that started with a simple deck upgrade and spiralled into a $15 million renovation, transforming this 1930s cottage into a luxury home. One Roof Prestige property reporter Catherine Smith got an exclusive tour and joins us live this morning. Catherine, good morning.
Good morning. And the fascinating thing about this one was it was intentional. You know, it wasn't like you and I that we go to replace a light bulb and suddenly our whole electrical system needs reworking. These people are in the design business, they know the industry, they just love beautiful things and beautiful design. And so they'd lived in this house for, decades, brought the children up, and so this was sort of the after after the kids have gone, we'll do a few things kind of project.
A few
Just a
multi-million-dollar things.
Yes, beautiful.
So what have they done?
Well, the key thing is they had to do a whole bunch of engineering, so they pushed out the back, they went underneath and made a proper gym and a downstairs living area. They pushed out the sides so they could get some sea views. They then did gorgeous, pool deck, pool area and so on. But some of the things too are things you would never see. They did this entire electronic system that's, and here's my technical knowledge coming in, that's both American and New Zealand voltage. Because the cookers that they wanted, you could only get in America. It's a Fisher & Paykel special. And as you know, in America, Fisher & Paykel is a very upscale brand. And so these particular cookers, one's an induction, one's a gas, you can only get them in America. And then, of course, alongside, you've got your coffee machine and data. They spent, the agent told me, $250,000 on the kitchen fit-outs of all the equipment. They've got my favourite thing, which is my dream, was one of those drawers, those freezer drawers, fridge drawers. They've got, 2 or 3. They've got multiple wine fridges. These light fixtures from Italy, they waited years before they put the light fixtures in because they wanted the exact piece of art light fixture that they had to have.
Catherine, would you be making the money back on the sale of this house?
It probably would, because it's St Heliers, it's on the hill, right over the road, and up the hill a bit is the Rise, which is one of the most expensive parts of St Heliers.
Hey, neighbours aren't that great looking.
No, I know. It used to be their land and they sold it.
By comparison.
Yeah. But literally all around them are these mansions.
Right.
And just off screen, the Rise, number 2, the Rise, is one of the biggest mansions that was built by Craig Heatley in the 90s, and it's been renovated several times since. So people do this because A, they're in love with the process, and B, because there are people who will buy.
Who will buy it.
And people who don't want to do any of this themselves. I mean, this was a multi-year project.
Catherine, we're about to look at a house on Waiheke, but the sort of theme for today is cost blowouts, isn't it?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
But for people who knew what they were doing and just went, this has to be the best, this has to be absolutely perfect. And I mean, we all talked about that Grand Designs a few weeks ago when it went from 3 million to 11 million.
Yes.
And Anne Gibson, our colleague of property in the Herald, went through the books with the 2 guys who built the place about where it blew out.
Yeah, it's a great read, that one. You can read it at nzherald.co.nz, but I want to get to our house of the week, this Waiheke property that was on Grand Designs.
It was on Grand Designs, and it was one of our favourites. And when they published, the couple who did it, Dale and Marie, spoke to us about what they'd done. And this one, the build cost planned at 3 million blew out to 5.5, which is, in the scheme of things, not as bad as this Grand Design.
Tiddlywinks.
Tiddly, but as you can see, the design is all about angles, and nothing's a right angle, and so they just kept going. They just decided, and this had been their dream. And here's the way Dale phrased it, was that he'd worked with one of those life coach, business coaches, and said, picture your perfect place, and this was the perfect land, and this was the perfect house.
The build itself, 5.5 million. In 24, they wanted 8.75. Yes. What do you reckon it'll go for, Catherine?
No idea. The agents aren't talking. It's really hard to tell now. Waiheke is a special case in terms of whether foreign buyers can buy or not buy, and it's just one of those places that people will utterly fall in love with and pay what they need to pay.
Catherine Smith, One Roof Prestige property reporter. Thanks for being with me, and thanks to our partners GJ Gardner. It is 8:45, and we are back right after this.
We have completed 4 builds with GJ. Every time we want to think of building, we always go back to GJ.
It's a really good experience throughout the whole process.
They deliver what they promise on, and feels like working with a family member. It's very easy and trustworthy to work with GJ.
Do you want a warm, healthy home? Insulate your walls with Insulmax. The easy, cost-effective way to insulate your walls, usually in just 1 day. Wall insulation without renovation for older Kiwi homes. Fully certified for New Zealand conditions. Join the thousands of Kiwis enjoying a warm, dry, energy-efficient home with Insulmax retrofit wall insulation. Visit nzherald.co.nz to book your free home assessment.
With the goodness of grains, Molenbeek. Keep me going longer!
I want my Molenbeek!
Ah, here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has free Aussie business roaming. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost centre reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Let's go back to our story of the morning, and that is this so-called peace deal that might or might not be coming out of the US. We'll talk business thanks to our partners Forsyth Barr. Garth Bray, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan. You're right. All about the oil, all about the peace deal.
Yeah, how is the price of oil reacting to it?
Pretty much hard push down, close to about $100 a barrel last time I checked, so about an 8% drop. And really that's them looking at this deal saying, hey, it looks like the US wants this to happen. It looks like, as you mentioned, countries like China are very keen to have this happen. Not that it hasn't been bad for business. You've seen I think just reports out this morning of a 20% year-on-year increase in US exports of oil to North Asian countries and to Europe to basically fill the gap. I would say probably not a lot of that's winding up in China, I'm just going to guess. So maybe they are really feeling like they need to sort this out. It is hitting them though.
And the oil company's doing quite well out of it too.
But the US consumer, $4.50 a gallon for gas over
yeah, up from $3 before the war, which is a lot. Now, markets doing, how are they looking?
Oh, as you can imagine, on a tear. I think NASDAQ testing 50,000 again. Dow testing 50,000 again, quite possibly. But S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, the tech stocks really, they're at fresh sort of intraday highs. Intel, big news for them. Their stock price has tripled, I think, since the start of the year. So a lot of that kind of tech confidence.
Chip stuff.
But just broadly, markets around the world generally on that news of a potential kind of ceasefire. Our own one off the back of the Infotil stuff that we talked about yesterday, that was up about 13%.
Yeah.
So investors really liking that we're part of that, or that company's part of that.
Yep. Chips doing well. Oil doing better in terms of a consumer point of view.
All going to come crashing down.
Now, what's this weird story about JP Morgan from the Wall Street Journal?
Well, and everywhere else, right? So this is claims of quite a lurid sexual assault lawsuit filed, like a grievance claim filed by a banker there, who claimed that a more senior female colleague had basically, in his filings, turned him into kind of a sex slave at work. Forcing him to do all kinds of things in return for, favourable promotion and so on. And then this popped up, and then he pulled it back after the co-worker pushed back and the bank pushed back and said not quite true. And then he refiled it again this week. This morning, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that it had attempted to pay him out $1 million US to settle it before it even got anywhere, just to add some spice further. They're saying, look, we still see no merit in this. We were just trying to deal with it and obviously keep it out of the headlines. A lot of discussion about this, I guess, in finance chat. Very, very fascinating.
Yes, very unusual. Good to see.
JP Morgan, biggest bank in America.
No, exactly.
So,
very important bank indeed. That was business. We talk business every day thanks to our partners Forsyth Barr. Earlier on Ryan Bridge today, it is 10 minutes away from 9 o'clock. Comedian Stephen K. Amos is back in New Zealand after a 10-year absence.
Whatever happened to that principle, that notion of innocent until proven guilty, which is Article 11 of the United Nations Geneva Convention on Human Rights, where the burden of proof is with who declares it, not who denies it. Unless, of course, you've let one off. In which case it is superseded by the international law of he who denied it, supplied it. It's true. Even for me as a comedian, in theory, I can be sued for something I say that is proven to be false or defamatory. Yet my rights to voice them are enshrined in the concept of the freedom of speech. So, for example, tonight, sir, non-clapping man, I could look you in the eye tonight and I could call you a wanker. But you could only win if you can prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that you've never been a wanker.
Everyone has, of course. He is here for the New Zealand Comedy Festival. Stephen K. Amos, British comedian, joins me live at the desk. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan. And I have to say, if I'd known you were going to play that clip, I would not have worn the same jacket. It looks like I've got no other clothes. This is embarrassing. Somebody should have told me. I mean, look at me. I arrived this morning. I do have a suitcase with a selection of other clothes. If you had told me, Ryan Bridge, I would have worn them. Wow.
I mean, I know comedy it can be a tough business, but one jacket?
Thank you very much. I want to beat Ryan Bridge yesterday, not today. This is not a good day for me.
Stephen, firstly, before we get down to the nitty-gritty, what's the K stand for?
Very good question. Right, I have a radio series called What Does the K Stand For? It's sort of autobiographical. It's on, I think, BBC iPlaywright or whatever it's called, and it actually is a Nigerian name. That's my heritage.
Yes.
And the K stands for Kinde, which translates into the second born of twins.
Oh, so you are?
A twin. Yeah, the second born. So it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl.
Is your second twin funny?
Not at all. I'm the funniest. Ryan, what's going on here? First, no clothes. Now, is she funnier than me? No, I'm the funny one in the family. That's why I'm here.
How did you get into comedy? You, as you said, your parents Nigerian, grew up in London. How did it start for you?
It started off for me because I come from a family of quite a few siblings. There's quite a few of us. And sometimes my parents would accidentally call me by the wrong name. And if anyone has come from a large family, you know that's unacceptable. I remember sitting around the dinner table, myself and my siblings. My mother leans to my brother and points to me and says, "Who is this child? Why is this child eating our food?" And that's when I thought I need to do something to stand out. And thankfully for me, I went on holiday to America and I met this person over there over a weekend of bottomless brunches, and she said, "You're funny, why don't you do comedy?" And I said to her, "Don't be ridiculous, we're all funny when we've had a drink." She said, "No, I run comedy clubs, come and do stuff."
No way.
And that's
how old were you at this point?
I was a young child, Ryan. I was no more than 22.
Wow.
Don't try and pinpoint my age. Age is but a mere recording of time, Ryan.
Before that, you hadn't looked at it though, before 22?
No, I'd liked the idea of performing. And I could do that at home, at school. You know, when you try and fit in at school, you don't want to be the odd one out. So I used to do little ditties and make stuff up as little white lies, if you will. And yeah, I never ever thought of doing comedy because growing up in London in the late 70s, 80s, the kind of comedy on television didn't really speak to me.
You're not really much as political as you used to be, is it fair to say, in your comedy at the moment?
Well, do you know what it is, right? I think it's because I want people to come to my shows. Doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, doesn't matter what your background is, I want us all to have a common ground. That common ground is laughter, right? If I want to instill or drop in some of my own political opinions, I will do. But it's not going to be the thrust of the show. It's a comedy show at the end of the day, and I want people to come along and have a laugh.
What is Now We're Talking all about?
Well, as the title suggests, Brian, I'm talking about the thing I know best, me. And I love me. I look in the mirror, I think, oh, there's nothing to say. No, it's basically about how the world is quite noisy at the moment with external things going on around us, particularly over social media, and also the fact that, yes, people are encouraged to talk, but where are the campaigns encouraging us all to listen to each other more? It's all very well, da, 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 and all this noise, but we need to listen.
Yeah.
How we're talking.
It's a good point. There's a lot of express yourself and my truth and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it is kind of almost selfish in a way, isn't it? It's very,
I think so.
Very centered on us and what we're thinking rather than actually listening to what other people are saying.
Exactly, and that's how dialogue happens. And I think social media has a part to play in that, where it's all about immediacy and not having nuance or context, and therefore it's so easy to have silly arguments with people, which I never do online. I mean, I haven't got time for it. I'm far too busy, right?
No, yeah.
But
buying
yes.
all your clothes.
I'm going shopping this morning, I tell you. No, but the idea of having a conversation is kind of like gone, and I think we should get back to it. Let's listen back and forth. You don't have to agree with people, but you can still at least
acknowledge what they're saying, respect what they're saying, and move on.
100%. Hey, is Starmer going to be long for this world? He's on his way out, isn't he?
Do you know what? He's getting such a bad press at the moment, and well, that's the world of politics for you. You know. It's,
yeah.
You know,
Dead man walking. Yeah. Hey, good to see you this morning, and we look forward to seeing you at the Comedy Festival.
Thanks, Ryan.
That is Stephen K. Amos, British comedian. He's here for the New Zealand Comedy Festival, and I can tell you can watch his shows at Auckland's Q Theatre on the weekend of May 9th and 10th. I'm sure there's a Wellington show too.
There is. It's at the
Wellington, Friday, May 8th. There we go. Yeah. Fantastic.
And I've got different clothes.
We'll have to see it to believe it. 4 to 9. Right, let's go to some breaking news now. There are more suspected hantavirus patients. They've been evacuated this morning from a cruise ship, which is now heading from Cape Verde to the Canary Islands. These evacuated patients from Britain, the Netherlands and Germany are being taken now. This is according to the Dutch government. So far, there have been 8 cases linked to the outbreak, with 5 confirmed. Of those, 3 are dead. Meanwhile, 2 British passengers who left the ship earlier are now self-isolating at home. The UK Health Secretary Agency says both remain symptom-free. The search for the origins of the outbreak continues. Right now, a Croatian company is rolling out Europe's first robo-taxi service on the streets of a place. I will tell you where in a second. It is backed by Uber and powered by Chinese self-driving firm Pony. The Croatians are running 10 automated vehicles in a big city. While the trial is underway, a human operator has to sit behind the wheel just in case. But it's hoped the service will become fully automated shortly. Rides cost around $4. The company says there are 4,000 people on the waiting list at the moment. Break.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. You can do it. We can help. Here's how. Download Tempo now.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Paul, and now I'm going to help you solve your problems with Chelsea. Just DM us your problems, and together, let's fix them. Baking solves everything. DM us now.
So it was pitch black, middle of the night.
Where are we going?
We saw this tree. It was the tallest tree ever. And then we walked and walked. Then we saw a cow. Well, Mom did.
That's quite an adventure, buddy.
Yeah, it kind of was. What do you want to do now?
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build with GGs because of the good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Right, it is 9 o'clock. Thank you for watching our program this morning as always, and for all of your feedback. We'll do it all again tomorrow from 7. For more news in the meantime, you can head to our YouTube page and watch our videos there. See you tomorrow.